In this example, we're going to look at the language and notation of exponents. So in the last example, we did the cake problem and we had a result of 2 to the 5th power, and this is called an exponential expression. We have names for the pieces, so the number 2 is called the base and 5 is called the exponent. So notice the base is written larger than the exponent and the exponent is raised up high. So here's some of the language we use. We will say this expression as 2 raised to the 5th power, or sometimes we just say 2 to the 5th. Okay, you don't want to say 2, 5 because that could be 25 or we're not sure what that means. So the raised to the or to the is what tells us that the following number is the exponent of the previous base. Since exponents represent repeated multiplication and we call numbers we multiply factors, we will also use this more meaningful language when discussing exponents. So 2 to the 5th means that we have 5 factors of 2. Note we also have special name for bases raised to the 2nd or 3rd power, and you may be familiar with these. So here we could say 3 to the 2nd power, but sometimes we also say 3 squared. Or for this one we could say 4 to the 3rd power, or we may say 4 cubed. So those are some special names that you may hear, and these two ways of saying them are equivalent. So let's do some examples. So here we have 6 to the 2nd power. So by expanded form we mean writing this as 2 factors of 6, or 6 times itself. Our word name, we could say 6 squared, or we could say 6 to the 2nd, and I'm going to put power. So 6 to the 2nd power. In factor language, we are saying that this is 2 factors of 6. 2 factors of 6. So notice this seems a little bit reversed compared to the problem because the 2 is up high. You see the 6 is first on the left, but this is what this represents. This is the number of factors of 6 we are taking. And as a math equation, we're just going to write the original expression, and it's an equation because we're writing what it's going to equal, and 6 times 6 is 36. Let's look at the next one. So here, this means the opposite of 6 squared. So since this negative sign isn't in parentheses, it's not raised to the exponent. So in expanded form, we're just going to keep this negative sign or opposite sign on the outside and write this as negative 6 times 6, or the opposite of 6 times 6. So the word name would be, just like we said it, the opposite of 6 to the 2nd power. In factor language, we'd say the opposite of 2 factors of 6. Okay, so notice this is important. The 6 is the only thing that's being squared here, so we have 2 factors of 6 just like we did here, and this is representing the opposite of that. For the math equation, I'm going to write the original expression, and then we're going to write what it equals. So looking up here, 6 times 6 is 36, and the opposite of 36 is negative 36. Let's look at the next one. So notice these two are different. So they both seem to have a negative 6, but here the negative is in parentheses, whereas here it wasn't. So in this case, we thought of this as the opposite of 6 squared, okay? And the opposite wasn't raised to the 6th power. Here, the parentheses are implying that we are raising this entire negative 6 to the 2nd power. So this is 2 factors of negative 6. So this means multiply, negative 6 is the base, multiply negative 6 by itself. Okay? So here we would say negative 6 squared, or to the second power, whichever you prefer. In factor language, we would say 2 factors of negative 6. And our math equation, you would write down the original. And a negative times a negative is a positive. So this would be 6 times 6, which is positive 36. So again, a negative 6 squared is positive 36. 6 squared is positive 36. This one, the opposite of 6 squared, the result will be the opposite of 36, or negative 36. Now let's look at one with an exponent of 3. So this is 3 factors of negative 5. Notice the negative 5 is in parentheses, so we have negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. Our word name would be negative 5. We could either say to the third power, or we could say cubed. And you can see why we like saying cubed sometimes. It's a little bit shorter. In factor language, we have 3 factors of negative 5. 3 factors of negative 5. And for our math equation, I'll write the original expression and what it equals. So looking at this, we have a negative times a negative times a negative. Well, a negative times a negative is positive, so this result, let's write this over here, would be positive 25 times negative 5. So I'm doing the multiplication left to right. And then a positive times a negative is negative. And 5 25s is 125. So this is negative 125. And there's our result.